So it's new class, Baruch HaShem, class number 1. And the topic is, it says Hilchot Talmud Torah, the laws of the Torah study. This text describes 2 positive commandments. They are, number 1, to study Torah, and number 2, to honor those who study and know it. Okay, this mitzvah I explain in the following chapters. And even though it's only 2 halachas, so as we're going to see, there's a lot to learn about studying of the Torah. It's not so simple. Okay. As we said, it's the biggest mitzvah, so of course we can understand it's not so simple. Okay, so let's see. Chapter number 1, Halachah 1. Women, slaves, and minors are free from the obligation of Torah study. Nevertheless, a father is obligated to teach his son Torah while he is a minor, as Dvarim 11:19 states, and you shall teach them to your sons to speak about them. A woman is not obligated to teach her son, for only those who are obligated to learn are obligated to teach. So, and it's actually this concept is not only with studying Torah, but everywhere, right? So if I and another person are obligated to do the mitzvah, so he can include me in his mitzvah, in most of the mitzvahs, and I can include him, right? But if he's not obligated to do the mitzvah, for example, mitzvah of kiddush, right? So I can do it, or my neighbor can do it for me and include me, or my host. I'm going over to somebody's house on Friday night, so I can do it, or he can do it for me, right? But his son, who is 11 years old, he cannot do it for me, for us, right? Because he's not obligated. We are not on the same level of obligation. Okay, so let's start from the beginning with all of the commentaries and all of the explanation. Beezrat HaShem. So it says, women. Number 1, commentary. Kiddushin 21b derives this concept from the use of this term, implying that one's male offspring. In Dvarim 11:19, the verse which commands us to teach Torah to our children. So meaning what? Only to boys. From the fact that the other are not obligated to teach women, it can be concluded they're not obligated to study themselves. So if you're not obligated to teach women, so they're not obligated to study themselves. Okay. Shulchan Aruch Harav, so it's right. Hilchot Talmud Torah 1:14 quotes this law, but also states that women are obligated to study the laws pertaining to all of the mitzvahs that are required to fulfill. See also Agur, Hilchot Tefillah 2, Sefer HaMitzvahs Chatan, Introduction to Sefer Hasidim 3:13. This includes large number of mitzvahs, for example, Shabbat, Nida, Kashrus, to the extent that men would not proud of their Torah knowledge encompassing these areas. Furthermore, women are also obligated to perform spiritual mitzvahs, for example, to love God, fear Him, and to believe in Him. Thus, they must also study those aspects of the Torah which relate to these commandments. See also Halachah 13 and its commandments. Okay, so it's very interesting insight. So what we just said, Rambam said that women are not obligated to learn Torah. Okay, Baruch HaShem, they're not obligated, but they must observe the Torah, right? So as a few examples, they must observe Shabbos, they must observe Yom Tov and Kashrus, and in olden days they did kasher their own animals, right? So the butcher, if you go to the butcher store, they would sell you animal like meat with blood. So you would have to go home and you would need to know how to kasher the animal. So it's not, of course we learn about it in our Kitzur Shulchan Aruch class, but of course it's only highlight. I'm not sure highlights. No, I don't want to say highlights. It's enough details to go by, but not all of the intricate details of the kasher and the meat, right? So, and of course they must know the laws of family purity, and of course they must know, for example, weekly parasha. They have to teach their children, and they have to know all other many other laws. So are women obligated to learn? No, but they must know. So how do they not must know? Okay, they obligated to learn in other way, but not as formally as men. So for a man, even if he learn these halachas once, right, he has to go like over and over and over, as Yosef Karo Zatzal, when he wrote Shulchan Aruch, I think he said that I write this book for people to go over. I remember it's in introduction. I think like every 6 months. Okay, every 6 months that people should go over to the Shulchan Aruch. Just for those who do not know, most people never ever go through the Shulchan Aruch even once, and many people don't go in 1% of Shulchan Aruch. Just so we know that. But Rav Yosef Kar said you have to go over many times, of course, during your lifetime. So that's men, and men obligated to learn Talmud and other not applicable laws. So that's, I guess, I mean, not I guess, but that's the difference, right? Men must know, like, must learn all of the sacrifices, all of the priestly garments, all of the laws of Beis Hamikdash, and they have to learn the Novi and other things, right? The women are not obligated to know that, but they obligated to learn all of the practical aspects of the daily life, all of them, which is a lot. And many people, men, grown up men, especially men, they know a little more than zero about kashrus. Okay, they know that for milk I take this plate, but for a knife, if I want to cut meat, I use this knife or that knife. So okay, so but for many people, that's how far it goes. That's it. And women are very proficient. So on one hand, they're not obligated to know, to learn, but they obligated to know. So basically, what I'm trying to say, if a woman went over this information, let's say one time, and he practices every day, and everything is good, so I mean, that she has to review, maybe once in several years she would review, but not more than that. But man has to review all over many halachas, even not relevant to him, right? Okay, that's about women. Okay, next one is slaves. Number 2. So Gentile slaves. The Torah obligates a woman and slaves. The Torah obligations of women and slaves are identical. Furthermore, Exodus 28a says that the person is forbidden to teach Torah to his slaves. Okay, so it's finishes. We're talking about male slave, right? I mean, all of the Canaanite slaves, so non-Jewish slaves, so they have to go through conversion process. It's like semi-conversion process, meaning they did not become 100% Jews, even though men would get circumcision and women would be dipped into mikveh, but it's like they attain the complete Jewish Jewish status only when they're freed. Otherwise, they are considered to be slave. And men are not obligated in any mitzvahs as women do that connected to time. So it's, for example, tefillin, he's not obligated. Shacharis, all of the other things, not obligated. Okay. Next one, and minors. Okay, minors, commentary. The latter are considered a lack in intellectual maturity. Hence, they are under no obligation to all according to scriptural law. This concept is so clearly understood that some commentaries maintain that these words should not be included in the text of the Mishnah Torah. I'm not sure why. The authoritative Oxford manuscript of Mishnah Torah indeed omits it. So there is many holy texts actually in the possession of the non-Jews, and they have no big desire to return this text to us. So it's one of the authoritative manuscript of Mishnah Torah in Oxford. So I guess in England or something. Okay, so minors, So I just want to add about minors. Okay, so minors are what? Minors are boys under 13 and girls under 12. So on one hand, they're not obligated by biblical law, yeah, it's true, but they obligated by rabbinic law. So from what age? From the age of the chinuch. And what is this age? So I would say just say from 5-6 years old, when he stops or she stops being a little monkey, and there is somebody to talk to, a little, not every time, but sometime from time to time. So when you can explain things and he or she can comprehend. So okay, from that age, from some children are more mature, so we start with 3-4 years old. I mean, but it's exceptions, right? And they already can do some mitzvahs, right? So we train them, because when boy becomes bar mitzvah when he's 13 and he did not start, the parent did not train him in mitzvah, so every second he's going to do sin of his life. I mean, from the day he's 13, he's adult, he's responsible for everything. You understand? So not to prepare for the bar mitzvah, not the party, but to know all of the mitzvahs and all of the details of the mitzvah is very, very irresponsive, right? Okay, so let's do the sentence, complete sentence. So we're still on sentence number 1. A woman, slaves, and minors are free from obligation of the Torah study. Commentary. The question arises, why does Rambam begins this discussion of the mitzvah with the mention of those who are not obligated? Why does he not begin with the discussion of the obligation of the mitzvah applies? Okay, so that's a good question. Okay, of course, Rambam had his own reason.